So Spider-Man over the years has had some wildly powerful opponents and villains, and dare I say this one here, this new villain that is being introduced, might just be on the level of Morlin, yes, the Inheritors, in the terms of it's just so hopelessly overpowering Spider-Man and there's not much he can even do, but that is still yet to be fully seen and revealed. For now though, for us to have a little context about what's going on before, all hell just breaks loose, we see Peter and Felicia, who are back on good terms again, scouting in and taking a look at this new group, this new gang in New York, who are trying to set themselves up as being the new kingpins of crime in New York, specifically here, maybe even working with the Hobgoblin in this case. And so usually this would just be a normal routine setup, staking out, seeing what this new group is trying to do, what weapons they're moving along, then stepping in to stop them, and whatever have you. Though it takes a very, very left turn as suddenly Spider-Man's spider sense starts to go off, revealing a new villain, one that is so much more dangerous and so much more powerful than anything that these new guys and whatever weapons they had could ever truly pose. An intimidating new villain who goes by HELLGATE, as he goes on to say and introduce himself, even going on to call Peter the honored prince of still silk. Now, so much of this new guy is such a mystery, even down to his appearance, which he kind of looks like Ares, the god of war, or even just like some sort of Roman gladiator, which is pretty strange for a Spider-Man's villain design. And it gets even weirder once he goes and explains some of his motives and why he's even here interacting with Spider-Man in the first place, saying, Nicodemu, second of our line to be cursed with the far sight, I've breached the soul wall and crossed from the faraway lands, just so I may parley with you, Prince of Steel Silk. I am the Hellgate, which largely the words and things he is describing here have no real meaning or reference for what he's trying to convey. But he does speak in a very old world English type of way or manner, so that just clues you in on the type of place he came from and just how mysterious and otherworldly it is. Him even going on to continue to say to Spider-Man that their meeting and their great alliance has already been foretold. But very funnily enough, Peter isn't intimidated or worried about this new character being introduced here, He essentially just brushes him off, saying, well, yeah, that's cool and all, but I'm kind of in the middle of something here. I'm dealing with this new Hobgoblin group and everything they're doing, so could you just hold up like 20 minutes? Just hang around and I'll get back to you in whatever Dungeons and Dragons campaign you're trying to pull off here. But it seems like Black Cat Felicia Hardy here has a little bit of a different opinion about what should be going on, because she is more focused on obviously this new hulking dark energy beast here known as the Hellgate, which his name itself just sounds very ominous and something you should be taking pretty seriously. So after pulling Peter aside for a second, she goes on to try and portray this fact to Peter and even telling him that she even feels some type of power or aura just oozing off of this villain here, in which she is actually correct, because in a blink of an eye, the Hellgate, this mysterious stranger here, starts to elevate with power, him heating up, fire or energy just bursting all around his person, leaving the rooftop they were just on, going forward and just obliterating all of the Hobgoblin's forces and everybody here, completely massacring and killing them, because in his own words, he was being ignored. Spider-Man had his attention on the people here, so he decided, let me take care of this for you. Let me just obliterate everybody here and destroy them, so now we can finally interact without distractions. And instantly in this moment, everything shifts. Peter jumps forward, going into the destruction of the entire area, seeing the lifeless and dead bodies spew all about. Even though these were bad guys, they were still people. They needed to be brought into justice, to have the chance of reform, not just executed brutally in the streets of New York. Something that, of course, Peter himself takes issue to. But this Hellgate pays no mind to the brutality that he has just caused and the lives lost. Instead, he just continues on like nothing ever happened, continuing on about his journey here throughout the far away lands and how forbidden it was and whatever have you. Though, of course, Spider-Man is still furious now, calling him a psycho, telling him you just don't get to kill people to get someone else's attention. But it seems like this Hellgate has had enough of Peter's yapping and bickering and decides to, do something about it. In which we, for the first time, if you haven't already guessed it, see just how wildly powerful he is. Because as he goes on to physically attack and push Peter, it just happens so quick, so exponentially fast that Peter, Spider-Sense, doesn't even have time to register that he should move before Hellgate has already made contact with him, hitting him so hard and so fast that he just completely flies and crumples through the top of a car nearby. But this wasn't just some sort of full force attack. No, it was just a love tap. Of course, a love tap that felt like it was a 1-ton ham fired out of a cannon, in which Spider-Man has been in his fair share of situations where he is up against overwhelming odds and overwhelming power. So he still has his sense of humor and taunting abilities, him going on to even say, I hope you enjoyed that refreshing taste of a sucker punch because you're not getting another. as he gets ready to engage in an actual fistfight. And as you're going to see, this isn't one of Peter's smartest decisions, because as they start to engage in a battle, Peter just starts relentlessly wailing on him, even hitting him with attacks and kicks so strong that he even goes on to say himself that usually the force of some of these attacks would be enough to make the Rhino tap out. Yet here it does nothing but make this Hellgate even madder. But not mad because it hurt or mad because it's pain or whatever, but mad because Peter's strikes doesn't hurt enough. He wants the pain. He wants a great battle with this quote unquote Prince of Steel Silk that he keeps calling Spider-Man. In which a situation like this kind of reminds me of Battle Beast from over in Invincible. How Battle Beast is strong, sure, but he doesn't use his strength to just plow through and conquer those weaker than him. No, he wants a great battle, a fierce opponent that can really push him to his limits. And while it isn't clear here in this situation, I don't really see why he would want that with Spider-Man when in the Marvel Universe, there's a plethora of different people more powerful or on different tiers of power than Peter. Like, he could have went down the street and found She-Hulk to have a fist fight with and go strength for strength. Even as Peter is trying his best, Hellgate just calls his resistance and his fighting an insult. It's just so pitiful weak compared to what Hellgate is used to or wants out of Peter. Luckily though, Peter wasn't alone since the beginning, as the Black Cat was with him, and now she is still here, being a useful distraction after picking up some random guns from the battlefield, firing at Hellgate, allowing Peter to create some distance and get back. Because not only is Hellgate very strong, fast, and durable, but he is pumping out some sort of heat. Temperature is so hot that Peter even relates and equates to the Human Torch. But Peter doesn't create this distance to run away and try to escape. Instead, he uses this to lure Hellgate away, because they are in New York, somewhere where the population density is very close. So with a villain or antagonist like him who really doesn't have any quarrels about killing innocent people or people he just deems as distractions or less important, Peter needs to draw this Hellgate away from the innocents that are going to be soon out and about on the streets of New York. But again, Peter is directing the situation and creating his plans on the fly. So yes, while he is luring Hellgate away, there's not really a destination or where he is taking him, because it is taking every ounce of concentration he can muster just to stay ahead and faster than Hellgate, who is behind him, just shooting energy out, destroying everything in his path. So he just needs a second to think, some breathing room. And while just shooting some strands of his webs before didn't really amount to anything, instead, he decides to just unload the full cartridges, throwing 2 of them as they connect and explode on Hellgate, momentarily encasing him and making him fall. Though a move like this, Peter calls it his 1-month salaries attack, because webbing can get real expensive. And frankly, while this didn't really do anything to Hellgate except stop him for like 5 seconds, that 5 seconds was something Peter really needs, as he was able to hide and get away. But he doesn't consider this a failure, just an experiment, because it's only a failure if he didn't learn and take that experience to be better next time. And keep in mind, all this is happening in such a small amount of time and in an early New York morning, so there's not going to be the dozens of other heroes just out and about, just casually walking by and may just stop to help Spider-Man. Instead, we do see a mysterious person who is unknown to us right now pick up on the police radio that Spider-Man is engaged with an unknown assailant. And after confirming this mysterious person who is riding on a bike and has a shield decides to go and intervene. Now, we aren't sure what exactly this means or who this person is, but they may play a very important role later on. Moving back over to the middle of Central Park, we finally pick up back with Hellgate, who has eventually found Spider-Man here, but Spider-Man has had time to hide and prepare for this continued confrontation. Peter even being so now confident in his new plan that he goes on to tell this Hellgate that he's not going to let him hurt anyone else. So now either stand down or your campaign will end in a lot of pain. But this literally has the opposite effect, as now Hellgate is even more bent on Peter showing him this new power, this raw strength that he is so desperately craving this battle. As he starts to charge in and literally heating up, boiling and steaming the water all around him. And just then, Peter hops into action, his plan going forward as he goes on to think in his head, it's not every day that I meet a guy that I can really unleash on, especially someone who talks like an extra from Rings of Power and clearly doesn't know how my city works, like how I led him all the way out here to Central Park to lower the chance of collateral damage. Or how Manhattan has a vast network of cables running beneath the streets, which require coolant, and the coolant in this case being liquid nitrogen. Spider-Man using his webs and strength to swing these tons of barrels right at Hellgate, actually connecting and hitting him, making his plan a success. The liquid nitrogen inside of these containers freezes him and creates essentially what is a giant frost bomb. And sure, freezing your opponent would usually win a battle regardless of who you are, but even more in this case, as this Hellgate seemed to have some sort of bio furnace from within. The more he activated his powers, the more angry he got, he started to literally heat up. So now with him being frozen, Peter thinks it would hurt him twice as much. Even going on to hypothesize maybe that's where his power comes from. It's magical in nature. And for the very first time since Hellgate marched into his life, everything is quiet, peaceful, at least for the briefest of seconds, as suddenly just then this villain, this this powerful anomaly starts to heat up. The ice starts to crack and break. Hellgate now fully unleashed this power within him, this, whether it be magic or this bio furnace, as Peter said, fully awakened and at full power now, meaning entirely before he was holding back. He wasn't going at 100%, in which even then Peter barely had a hope to beat, and now the chances of that continue to plummet down. Though on the bright side, at least one person is happy, as Hellgate even goes on to say, "There you are, that was the prince I was promised. Now show me more of this power." So yeah, it looks like Peter is about to be in a world of trouble, in a lot of pain, unless he can think of another solution to this Hellgate catastrophe that he has found himself within. Though we are going to get more answers about how this ends and what exactly is he doing here and for Peter in the next issue as this one comes to a close. As always, this was AJ here at The Hero Informer, and thank you for watching.